Hey Hub, I'm Chelsea. I hear that some of us are pretty bored in quarantine, so Miss Mia has kind of suggested that I do some watercolor tutorials for you guys. So this is going to be split up into hopefully 3, maybe more, maybe some different mediums, but 3 different videos. Today is meant to do a just like a really easy technical skill so you can kind of get used to watercolors, and then at the end you're still going to have something really cool that you can probably feel proud of and hang up whenever you're done. So Ms. Mia is also going to be doing it right next to me, so you can see her progress with all of this, and she's going to crush it. All right, so here we go. All right, so I tried to make this so that we can make a little abstract watercolor, and using some stuff that we have around the house as well. So if you don't have watercolors, we also are going to send along a link with a video on how to make them from stuff you can buy at the grocery store. So with COVID, that might be a lot simpler for some of you all. But other than that, what we're going to be doing first is sectioning off our paper. So I already have this started to kind of expedite the process. So what I used was a label. If you can pull a label off anything, if you can't find any tape at home, you can pull a label off anything and cut it up into strips, or if you have tape, you can definitely use thicker tape, you can use thinner tape. It is fully up to you. So we did our strips. This is going to be Miss Mia's. So what I'm going to do is I'm just place these strips. They can be anywhere, but you do want to make enclosed shapes. So you don't want to have any open, kind of like this one here. So I'm going to definitely finish that one off at some point. And honestly, this is up to you. You can make your shapes big, you can make your shapes small. If you make them small, you're definitely going to have to change colors a lot more, but you'll probably learn a little bit more too. So I'm going to go with a bunch of like medium-sized ones to make this demonstration a little bit easier on some of us. So I'm just going to rush through this.
You should explain to everyone about your eye. Because I hear Charlie.
Charlie is crying in the background while I do this. Charlie is crying in the background, and if anyone noticed on the video, I do have a black eye.
It's healing.
It is healing. It's on like day 5, but Charlie headbutted me in my eye. I know he sounds like a crazy heathen, but he's super cute right now. Ooh, where should I put this one? So this is kind of fun because, you know, you kind of have to decide like on your last ones, like what kind of shapes that you want. to have lots of squares right now, so I might want to split up this kind of shape here, create a couple more. Notice that even when I cut these, they're imperfect, and that's totally fine. There definitely does not have to be any sort of precision with cutting strips like this because it's going to be abstract. If you guys have gone to museums before, I'm sure you've seen like a red square painted on a painting and it sold for like $3 million, and you're like, I don't understand this. So this is in that category of abstract art. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give this to Miss Mia. This is the one that she's gonna paint. I already have one kind of started here to kind of help the process along. So the goal today is just, I'm talking to you that you, as if you guys have not ever painted before. So we're gonna talk about how colors blend, how to do different techniques, how to get things dark from light, creating this value. So I have examples here at the moment. I'm just basically going to recreate them so you can see me do them. First thing we're going to start off with is obviously getting our supplies. You need a cup of water and you need watercolors. These are just the like 250 Crayola watercolors that are like student watercolors. So you get your brush wet first, obviously. Right now mine are fully dry. Whatever color you're going to pick for one section, we're going to actually be doing this right here. So we're going to be going creating basically a value scale going from dark to light, and you're going to try and have as little as like these transitions as possible. You don't want to see any of those lines. So pick a color. I'm going to pick purple this time. Miss Mia is going to go for green. Beautiful. So you can see when I go to get my watercolor wet, since this is the first time, I want to kind of get a good amount of water in there, and then I'm swishing my brush around, trying not to jab it in, keeping your bristles straight the whole time. And this first dip that you're going to do is always going to be the most like pigmented. So a pigment is basically color, and it's going to be a really bright version of that color. So you always want to start on the side that's going to be really dark. Depending on your brush, it doesn't really matter which one you've got, just making sure your bristles are always going with the direction that you're painting. And you've got tape blocking you off, so it's pretty easy to not mess up any of these shapes. I set you guys up for success. Now, if you notice my edges are kind of getting a little bit lighter on the sides, I do not need to keep adding water every time I go back to purple. That's a misunderstanding with watercolor. I basically just set this up and created some paint in this little circle over here. So now I'm just going to go back and dip it. So it's probably going to be actually a little bit darker this time. And what I want to do is just pull that color down. So now that I've got the darkest part of this shape, I want it to start to fade out just like this blue. So now I'm not actually going to even go back to my purple. Since I have plenty of pigment here, I'm actually going to dip my brush in the water. And I'm going to start pulling that color down. So when I pull that color down, it starts to get lighter. And I'm starting to see how you can see my brush strokes here. That means I'm running out of water, I'm running out of pigment, so I need to jump back in, going back in for water because it's still pretty dark. And then stopping here because I want this bottom part to be like almost white. So I'm actually gonna like wipe my brush, so you can't really see it in the screen, but when you get your water, you wanna wipe that brush so there's no excess water. So there's no watercolor, there's no pigment. And I'm just gonna kind of dip it here and start from the bottom because I want this to be as light as possible so you can get that really nice, easy transition. And then you just meet it up to where we were, pulling it down a little bit more. And then I like to go through and kind of just almost act like this is an eraser now and kind of erase any lines that I see. If I see any like stark contrast between dark, medium, and light, that's when you kind of want to just pull it and bring your brush over here and erase it a little bit.
I know, she's annoyingly good at it. If yours doesn't look like hers.
And Miss Mia is crushing it over here.
I'm so good at this.
She is. I can see an actual transition from dark to light. Now,
no, you messed
if you want to really like capitalize on this, that's when you go in and you want almost a dry brush. So hopefully I don't have one because I don't usually use paper towels, but you want a really, really dry brush. And this purple has dried a little bit, so the pigment actually should be like really, really, really bright. I'm gonna go right up to the top and kind of hit that top one with a really dark line. And then it kind of gives it one more depth, one more kind of value on that value scale to make it look extra dark. Cool. Moving on. If we ever had elementary art, I used to teach that as well. We probably went over the color wheel. So talking about, what two primary colors make a secondary color. So that's what we're going to do right now. I have done all three transitions. So our transition from blue to yellow, you're going to find green in the middle. Your transition from blue to red, you're going to find purple in the middle. Red and yellow, you're going to have a nice transition of orange. So I'm just going to do one of those three. Hopefully within your painting you will do a little bit more. So I'm just going to walk you through that one. Very similar to this one, but a little bit different. Which one do you like best? Which one do you want to do?
Blue and red.
Blue and red, heard. So
I feel like yellow's not forgiving.
So when we're doing primary colors, I used to teach this to my kindergartners. When you're mixing colors, you always want to start with the lighter color first. And then when you add the darker color in, it's going to make a better transition for your secondary color. So since we're starting with purple as the color that we're trying to make, we want red and blue. Red is going to be the lighter color in that situation. So now I'm fueling up my red here, getting this nice and ready. Twirling it around.
It's getting ready.
I'm just gonna do this small one right here. So you want to start off with a bright red pigment down the side. Notice how I try and get one nice dark line at the beginning because just like I said, when you have a nice dark transition, it makes that value scale pop a little bit more. All right, a little bit more pigment because this one's gonna be drawing down a little bit more. So now you see in this one that I just created, I'm actually creating it right next to each other, so it's a little bit easier. It looks like, there's a lot of purple right here, but really when I started this I brought my red down to about here because you want that transition. You want plenty of that pigment there right in the middle for when you bring your blue for those colors to mix. And since they are mixing, you cannot let it dry like I have almost while talking to you. So definitely don't do this when you've got a bunch of other things going on. But if you do, it will still be beautiful, so it doesn't really matter.
Or do that.
Just know that it might not change the way you want it to. So notice how I'm not going back for any pigment now. I've just got some water. So you don't want it to be too crazy pigmented, but...
I messed mine up. I don't
No, you're okay. You're doing your thing. So I brought my red down almost to the end because I want to leave space for the full blue hue there. I don't want it to mix up because that's the biggest mistake that anyone will make on this is you go too deep and then it's just purple and red because we kind of forget to allow that blue pigment to come in. So now when my blue comes here, if I haven't waited long enough, it'll start to be purple. I kind of made a mistake. I need to clean my brush because you want that full blue pigment first. Because if I were to come back down from here, that's what would have turned it purple. So now I have a clean brush going back in with my blue, painting that blue. So now I have that full blue pigment, and I'm not going to touch this area anymore. We don't need to touch that. And I pull this back up, and now we've got our color change. Nice transition at the bottom, but see how I have like a lot of like watercolor kind of piling up right here? If you keep moving with this, then you're going to lose your red. So now I'm going to clean my brush and go in with almost a dry one. And that's when I just want to pull this out to kind of fade that color as much as I can. Your dry brush is going to do some wonders for you in this painting. And as I get closer to my red, when I pull my strokes away, I'm actually pulling my brush off my paper a little bit because I don't want it to like fully mix up here. I want it to kind of make a nice transition. So red to blue.
Oh God.
Now you can do this with obviously green and orange. So if we're starting with, if this were my class, I would definitely quiz you on what color would come first. Obviously it's gonna be yellow that you're gonna paint first for this transition, and yellow for the other transition as well. All right, now getting fun. Once you do those things, once you kind of create a couple colors and do a nice little value scale, once you do a nice color combination, you're probably going to start feeling a little more confident. You feeling confident now?
No.
Yeah, you are. She's crushing it. Here you go. You got a purple over there, got a green. Doing great. All right, I've fully gone over how much time I said this would be. But to kind of wrap up, I'm just going to show you a couple of these other ones because you can kind of start to experiment from here. This is just obviously super introduction lesson. I'd play with some colors. Blue and green are really similar. They're going to make a teal when they kind of come together. So you can kind of just start playing with them mixing here. See what happens, when you have too much water. See what happens when you don't have enough. And one of my big warnings with watercolor is if you go over a part too much, if you're, painting into one little area with the water, if you don't have a thick enough paper, it's probably going to create a hole in that. So, once it's on there, just move on. You can always try this again when we do a different watercolor lesson. So hopefully this gets you started for today. If you have any questions, I forgot to tell you, this is another one. It was semi-successful, but
Cool.
play with it. When you add salt to this, it actually pulls the pigment from the watercolor, and usually will create, it kind of worked on this blue a little bit, you can't really see, but it'll create like a splotchy effect. So if any scientists out there know some cool things you could probably add to this to make it fun, definitely go for that. Add a little bit of salt, see what happens. All right, I am going to do this again for sure. If you have any questions, I know that you can email Miss Mia, and I think there's something else special that she's doing with this. I'm gonna let her say it.
No, I'll put it in the email.
She's gonna put it in the email. Okay, so because the secret's in the email, so once you watch it.
Wait, we should do it at the end of the video.
Yeah, it's at the end of the video. You've made it.
So
You've made it at the end.
Okay, so if you watch this whole video, I'm just gonna talk while you guys stare at Chelsea's pretty artwork.
Perfect. I'll paint.
If you made it through the whole video, then the first 5 people to email me, should we do like a code word? email me the code word hippopotamus if you want.
Yes, I don't know why I just picked orange.
If you want a free watercolor set like the one Chelsea's using. So I'll mail to your place a free watercolor set to the first 5 people who respond to this video email and tell me the code word. Yay!
Which is hippopotamus.
Which is hippopotamus.
It's been super fun. I hope you guys are hanging in there, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye!
Bye!